Well, fridge is empty. I got 330 pounds of strongman to feed, 6,000 calories a day, and 320 grams of protein a day. And for right now, I have no money. I'm gonna give myself a $200 budget and see if I can't hit the grocery store and feed myself for an entire week based on only $200. I'm gonna take my shopping cart and let's get off and see what we can do. Okay, we're here at No Frills. We've got nearly 2,000 grams of protein to find out how to fit into $200 and about 42,000 calories over the week. So No Frills is the cheap spot to go in Canada. These are in Canadian dollars. Let's see what we can do. So to give the total amount that I need 320 grams of protein a day, 800 grams of carbs a day, and 150 grams of fat a day. Now, that's just shy of 6,000 calories. And cost-wise, protein is gonna be the number one thing to consider. Carbs are cheap and fat is easy. So we're gonna make our way through. I've done some pre-research and I think we're gonna be able to do it, but TBD. This is also where you get to the conversation of like, are we doing this to be healthy? We're doing this to fit macros. And today we're fitting macros because we're gonna skip over the whole produce section, which of course is gonna add some. You could find some stuff, but we're just keeping it bare bones and simple. So I've got pork loin to start. This is 1.4 kilos of pork loin. That's gonna be source number one of protein. Source number two is going to be chicken thighs. Now, little hack, the more work you do yourself on cooking the food, the cheaper that it's gonna be. So here are chicken legs with the bone in. I can just pull that bone out, take the skin off, and get a really good source of protein. Now, this is going to be my primary source. I need 5 kilos of this, and that's gonna be 4 of these packages. And that is a really big chunk of the budget. That is $12 each by 4. That's 48 bucks just in chicken. I love you. So that is the meat all bought and most of the protein done and dusted. We're only at $63. We've got 137 left to spend. Eggs are gonna how I get a good source of fat and some more protein to go with that. So I need 60 eggs for the week. And at $9.50 each, that's another 20 bucks down. But that's all my protein for the week, less than $100. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking $200 per week is a ton to spend on groceries, and that's true. You could scale that down based on your body weight. You're aiming for 1 gram per pound of body weight, meaning that you could probably cut the protein down 30, 40, 50%, depending on how much you weigh, and that drops the cost considerably. We're also talking Canadian dollars, which is 40% less than American dollars. So we're doing pretty well. Shout out bagged milk. We've got 4 liters of milk in that bag for $6.25. Super cheap, good source of protein. Some fat, some carbs, you get a bit of everything in there. Okay, now tuna this is the number one protein hack, but most people don't want to eat it all the time, of course. But let's just choose a random one. Let's say here, $2.77 for a can of tuna. Grams of protein is 11. So you can get 22 grams of protein for $5. Hard to find that in many other places. And that's just a random one off the shelf. I'm sure we can find some larger ones that are a little bit cheaper. Yeah, we got no name here. Look at this, $1.29. $1.29 for 17 grams of protein. 34 grams of protein for $2.60. If you can stomach tuna, mix it with a bit of rice, do something with it, that's the hack. That's the hack of the whole video. Tuna is your answer if you're trying to get protein in. I don't want to eat that every day, of course, but I'm gonna go 10 cans of tuna, and that is 240 grams of protein. No, you're right. 10 cans of tuna, sorry, that's 170 grams of protein. This reminds me of like university days when I was first trying to gain weight and just finding whatever I could afford when I didn't have a job and I wanted to get muscular. Now I'm gonna pick up some carbs. So I'm gonna come back to these guys. But if we look at the rice down here, this is 8 kilos of rice for $15. It's so cheap, but cooking that, putting it in a pot, trying to not have it go spoiled, which rotten rice is the worst thing ever. This makes a lot more sense. You can just put that in a bowl, heat it up for 2 minutes, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna need a fair amount of these, but for $2.79 each, I personally will always take that hit because I know I'm going to do it. Even if I was trying to save a lot of money, I know it's gonna stop me from eating out a lot, and really this entire decision is gonna cost maybe $20 more than it otherwise would have if I chose the big bag. $20, that would be one meal out. And if you're trying to make it a high protein meal, you're probably into $30 to $40. So a handful of rice bags, and this is gonna be my rice for the week. Now this isn't the sexiest grocery shop. This is one of two carb sources I'm gonna focus on. All of those packages of rice, I'm gonna pick up some potatoes, and then everything is sorted except for some canola oil to get in some good fats to cook with. But as you can see, your challenge when shopping on a budget and trying to gain muscle is one, how do you get all your protein in for as cheap as possible? My 2 hacks for you: buy meat with bones, pull the bones out yourself, skin the meat yourself, do a little bit of handwork, but save a little bit of cost on the meat for sure. Second, if you can stomach canned fish, canned tuna, it's a great lean protein source. It's really good for you and extremely cheap. And then make things practical. So get your rice and get your cheap ingredients as convenient as possible. And that's a really good foundation to be able to eat a lot of food, high quality, and get your macros in. Canola oil for the week, this is a lot. It's $8.50. This is plenty. $4. $4 for a liter of canola oil. Now we've got potatoes, and we're gonna add up the total. Last up, we're getting our potatoes. There's another super cheap thing. So would it be slightly cheaper to pick them potato by potato? Probably, but convenience of the bag. 10 pounds of potatoes for $4. Easiest carbs you're ever gonna buy. We're gonna get 2 of these. And by the way, hack for cooking, get an air fryer. It solves all of your problems. You can cook potatoes, rice, meat, literally anything you want in an air fryer. Macros stay pretty good, and it feels like it's half fried. So here's our shopping cart. We've got our rice, pork loin, chicken, potatoes, rice, tuna, canola oil, milk. That's it. That's a full week of eating. For me, that's in this cart. Hard to believe, but that's 42,000 calories. It's all gonna go in my body in 7 days' time. Did we get it under 200 bucks? I think we might have, but it's time to go ring it up. All right, done some calculations here back from the grocery store. Total costs: chicken, $48, pork, $17, tuna, $13, milk, $6.25, canola oil, $4, eggs, $19, and the carbs were $49.85. That was a big spend. That was rice that was more convenient just to make it work. But our total still came in at 157 Canadian dollars, which would be 177 Canadian dollars after tax. In US dollars, that is 112, and things are slightly more affordable in America than in Canada. So $112 US could feed me for an entire week and hit my macros. Now, the meals like this, they wouldn't be that exciting. They wouldn't be sexy. They wouldn't be the thing I look forward to the most in the world. But meal 1 could be 6 eggs and a cup and a half of cooked rice. Meal 2, 200 grams of pork with 350 grams of potatoes and rice. Then we have chicken and rice for meal 3 and tuna and rice with milk for meal 4. That gets us to about 800 grams of carbs a day, about 320 grams of protein per day, and about 150 grams of fat per day, with a daily calorie total somewhere in around 58 to 5,900 calories, more than enough to gain weight. Now, food's not the cheapest thing in the world right now. Nothing is, but at $100 a week, it makes it feel feasible that you could eat a heavy bulking diet on somewhat of a budget and be able to make ends meet. Now, this might not apply to everyone. It might still be difficult to make ends meet, but that's what it costs on the cheapest end to feed a 320-pound strongman. Let me know what you think in the comments. How much does it cost you weekly for groceries? Right now, my normal grocery shop is way more than that, astronomically more than that, unfortunately. But that's what you get. And then we also trade off food quality. We also didn't get produce. We didn't get anything organic. We didn't get anything from the butcher. We didn't get any steaks. There's a lot of proverbial meat left on the bone. But if you had to make it work, that's what it would take. Let me know what you guys think. Until next time, lift heavy, be kind, and we'll see you tomorrow.